Hey, what's happening, guys? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review. Today, let's talk a little bit more about Nintendo's game plan. So, for myself, being a huge gamer and a huge Nintendo fan, almost every day I end up thinking a little bit about what's Nintendo doing, what's going to happen with the NX, of course, when is it going to be revealed, what games do they have planned, is Metroid ever going to come back, things like that. It's just what we do. If gaming is your passion and hobby, and if Nintendo happens to be your favorite company, you end up spending time thinking about that, especially because right now we know that we're waiting to have the mystery box finally open for us and know what's actually happening going forward. Rumors are starting to say that sometime next week on September 20th or maybe the 22nd, Nintendo's going to have their reveal. And it seems like if that was true, Nintendo was waiting to the 11th hour to even tell us about that. No big surprise. It's just kind of the things that they do sometimes. But through that, I've had kind of an epiphany when going back and thinking about what Nintendo's been doing, not only this year in preparing to finally show us their next console, but also just the last couple of years with the Wii U and their 8th generation machine, what they released to us, and how that might actually be affecting what they're going to be doing going forward. So the crux of this epiphany that I had really focused on the games. I started to think about what games Nintendo themselves actually made and released for the Wii U, what games were good and which games weren't so good, what games I wanted and a lot of gamers wanted that we didn't get, and how that might affect what they're going to do once they actually have a new machine out on the market and they show it to us maybe next week or next month or whatever they end up doing. And I think that when you look at the breadth of what Nintendo actually released themselves on the Wii U, it kind of makes me feel like, sort of building off an idea for a video that I made many months ago where I discussed, if Nintendo course corrected from the Wii U because so early on they maybe realized it was a failure and took a lot of projects that might have been intended to be Wii U games and actually moved them to their next generation machine, as of right now codenamed the NX. Building on that idea, I wonder if they started releasing the games the way they did because they knew that they had to really knock it out of the park this next time out at this point with the NX. So what I mean when I say that is the breadth of these games that Nintendo released on the Wii U, although some of them are so freaking fantastic, it just hurts me how good they are. It feels like they weren't the fully realized versions of all their respective franchises, and that Nintendo might have said, okay, we can't release the next big game in this franchise or this franchise or this franchise. We need to move that to the next system because we can probably make that successful like we initially intended the Wii U to be. So instead, let's just make some smaller, quicker to develop, and cheaper versions, games released within these franchises, kind of maybe side story sort of games. Release these on the Wii U just sort of as placeholder games for what has now become our placeholder system, and wait until the NX comes out, and that's when all of our really excellent next AAA versions of these franchises are going to come out. So what do I mean when I say this? There's a couple of big examples. The main thing is, I think when you look at all these games that Nintendo released on the Wii U, only a very small handful of them really, to me, qualify as the actual genuine next iterations within these franchises. When you look at Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U, when you look at Mario Kart 8, and when you look at Pikmin 3, to me, those are the only games that truly 100% are defined as actual sequels or successors within their respective franchises. They put 100% effort into those games. They are true sequels. Both Mario Kart and Pikmin even include a number, indicating that it's, hey, this is the sequel to the previous number. Mario Kart 8 is the sequel to Mario Kart 7. Pikmin 3 is the sequel to Pikmin 2. And they are both fully featured, fully realized games, and they are excellent. Smash Brothers, of course, doesn't work on a numbered scale, but it's still pretty obvious that that's Smash Brothers Part 4, quote-unquote. It is the sequel to Brawl. It is not skimping in features or content in any respect. It is 100% a Smash Brothers game, and a really kick-ass Smash Brothers game at that. And I think that that's pretty cool. All three of those games are basically 10 out of 10s as far as I'm concerned. As a Nintendo fan and a gamer, those are 10 out of 10 games to me. But when you look at everything else they did, I think that it speaks more to the concept that I'm trying to get across. When you look at a game like Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker, when you look at a game like Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, when you look at a game like Yoshi Woolly World, Star Fox Zero, these are games that to me are all pretty good. Some of them are actually excellent. I mean, really, really excellent. But they don't necessarily feel like they're meant to be the true sequels. Captain Toad, which is such a good game, by the way, I enjoy it and I implore everyone to play it. isn't truly like a brand new Mario game. It's not it's not even a brand new Toad game. It's like they took the little kind of cool little bonus levels from 3D World, which were fun, and they made it, their own little budget priced kind of game in Captain Toad. Turned out to be great and well worth its $40, but it's not like it's a new game within a franchise. It's not a sequel. Yoshi Woolly World, a very, very good game, but it's kind of the same thing. It's when you look at what they've done with other Mario 2D platformers and other games featuring Yoshi in a 2D platformer, it doesn't really qualify as a Yoshi's Island or a Yoshi's Story, in my opinion. It's more along the lines of like the Yoshi Touch and Go game that came out on the 3DS, the DS, sorry, the original DS back when that launched. It's just kind of like a little spin-off sort of game, and it's very excellent. I mean, again, I really do enjoy Woolly World. It's on the lower end of Wii U platformers for me, but it's still very good, and it was worth the $60 or $50, whatever I paid to buy it on launch day. I mean, what are some other games? 3D World is an interesting one because 3D World is, to me, a fully featured, fully realized Mario game, absolutely. It's incredible. It's damn near a 10 out of 10 to me. I don't think it's quite as good as some people maybe hold it, but it was one of the best reviewed games that year. I think it was nominated for Game of the Year, and that was a worthy nomination. It's a beautiful game. It's a very fun game. To me, it's a little short, and it's a little easy for most of it. I know it gets crazy hard at the end, but the majority of that game is fairly easy. And because it's not a fully realized 3D sort of scope, you're limited to some angles, and it's very simply laid out levels. It doesn't feel, I think most of us know and agree, as great as the game is, it's not a successor to Galaxy, which to me doesn't have to necessarily be Galaxy 3. It could be a brand new game that is of the scope and scale of Galaxy or Super Mario Sunshine. I always use those as Mario examples. Galaxy 3 or Sunshine 2 or whatever. Mario 64 Part 2. It's not one of those. And again, that does not prevent it from being an absolutely fantastic game. Another game that I said is worth my money. It's worth your money if you haven't played it. But it's not a true sequel. Kirby and the Rainbow Curse, obviously a spin-off game. That's not a true Kirby game. They did give us the Kirby Planet Robobot on the 3DS, which I barely talked about. That game was very mediocre, far too easy. It was, as I said on the podcast, that game is a baby game for babies. And so it helped me from really enjoying it as much as I was expecting. The Rainbow Curse is such a fun game, and I really appreciate what they did, but it's not a true Kirby game. Star Fox Zero is an interesting one as well, because I also think that's great. I mean, I think all these games that came out on the Wii U are great, but they all have the caveat of not being true sequels, And Star Fox Zero, as cool as it was, not only was it alienating because of the difficult control learning curve, but as we all know, it's kind of really just a remake of Star Fox 64, which is really neat for the nostalgia of someone as old as myself, or Ms. T, who does the podcast with me, who we grew up as huge Star Fox fans, playing the original Super Nintendo release, having Star Fox 64 absolutely blow our testicles off. It was just so amazing at the time. And so it's cool to have a game that's a remake of that game, but it's not really the true new Star Fox that I think we all wanted, and that we all hope Nintendo will still realize that they should make. Here are some other kind of interesting ones. Zelda's a unique scenario because mostly what Nintendo's given us on the Wii U are just two HD remakes of two older Zelda games, which are great. Twilight Princess, one of the best Zelda games. Wind Waker, my absolute favorite Zelda game, and literally a top 3 game all time for me. That might be my second favorite game ever made, the Wind Waker. I love it so much. And those HD remakes were very, very good. The way they cleaned up the graphics was incredible. The inclusion of gamepad touchscreen support, I thought personally, was really fantastic and made specifically the Wind Waker that much more fun to play. So it's cool that they did that. The other reason Zelda's weird is we all know the true sequel to Zelda, the fully realized 100% sequel, Breath of the Wild, will be coming to the Wii U soon. The Wii U will not go fade off into the night without the actual true successor Zelda releasing on it. That is so crazy exciting. I cannot wait. However, the reason it's a little bit weird is the NX factor, you guys. We all know the NX is going to be getting a version of Breath of the Wild. And although this theory of mine may prove to be wrong, I'm going to believe it until we see otherwise. My theory being that I think Nintendo is ultimately going to push the NX version of this game. I have a feeling that they may show the NX version when they finally reveal the NX to us, and a huge part of that presentation might focus on Breath of the Wild, the NX version, to say, look at how much better looking even the NX version does. You think the Wii U version is beautiful? Look at the NX version. So they're going to push the graphical power of the NX to show the NX version of Breath of the Wild looking amazing. And if they have a lot of NX specific features on that game, which It's hard for us to know what that would be because we don't know the NX yet, but let's assume that there are a lot of very specific NX features in that game, and I think they will. I think there will be, because that's a great game to use to sell why the NX is going to be great. All of a sudden, I think we're going to be in a scenario where, just like with Twilight Princess, Nintendo says, yeah, we're making a last-gen version on the Wii U of this game, but really, this is the definitive version. This is the version we believe in. This is the version we want you to buy. The NX version of our brand new Zelda game, Breath of the Wild. So, Zelda is in a gray area for the Wii U in terms of this theory I'm discussing with you guys today, because it will get a version of the new sequel, but I don't think it's going to be the definitive ultimate version Nintendo envisioned or planned for. So I feel like that kind of leaving it in the dust, I should say, is like really a true Zelda game, the way it was intended to be, might not end up actually releasing on the Wii U, I think is what I'm getting at. Another game I wanted to discuss is Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze. And I know it's going to really hurt Ms. T that I'm going to talk about it this way, because I do feel like it also qualifies as a not fully realized sequel. And what I mean by that is, it's basically just Retro kind of doing what they just recently did with the first Donkey Kong Country Returns on the Wii, which to me, and I know that a lot of people won't agree with this, but I still prefer the Wii version to Tropical Freeze. Now, I've been going back through Tropical Freeze over the last couple of months because I hadn't played it pretty much since it came out, and I went through it the first time. And I will admit that even though I loved it the first time, it's even better than I remember. So Tropical Freeze is like a 9.9 out of 10 for me as a Nintendo fan. It really is a great game. Retro is an amazing developer. I love what they've done reinvigorating Donkey Kong Country, and I love that we got a version of Donkey Kong Country on the Wii U that is absolutely spectacular. But to me, because it was really just taking the skeleton of their previous engine, cleaning it up, making it look a little bit better, but still just the basic straightforward platforming, there were no real changes to that game other than adding like Dixie Kong and Cranky Kong, which is cool and does change the gameplay a little bit. It's not like a true next evolutionary step in Retro's Donkey Kong Country games, and it's not even like a new franchise. I mean, we all expected something different from Retro. They showed Tropical Freeze, and initially, if you remember, people were kind of bummed because it's like, well, that's not what we want. It just looks like a better looking version of the last game you guys just made. And truly, as much as I love the game, I think that that's what that game really is. I would have liked either, some new game from Retro, whether it be Metroid, which everyone talks about, or even a brand new IP, which I would freaking love to death. Or if it was something that felt like an evolutionary step in Donkey Kong Country. That's really what I would have liked. And they chose not to do that. So they kind of made, I'm trying to think of an example, I don't know, sort of in the way like the Assassin's Creed games are just like marginal steps and improvements over the previous ones. I know that those feature completely different stories and characters every time, and that is pretty cool. But it's like, that's just another Assassin's Creed game. And to me, this felt like, just another Donkey Kong game. Granted, those two games are so good, it's like, okay, like I do let it pass. But I think in terms of including Donkey Kong Country in the overall conversation I'm having here about not fully realized sequels and expansions and evolutions of the respective franchises, I think Tropical Freeze does count in that category. It's not, to me, it wasn't Donkey Kong Country Returns Part 2, the sequel. It was Donkey Kong Country Returns, the kind of sort of better spin-off. And I really want a sequel. I want a brand new Donkey Kong game that feels like a brand new Donkey Kong, literally like a sequel. And, Tropical Freeze, you can debate either way, and I won't really argue someone who might say, well, it is truly a sequel and it is better and yada yada. So it's like, okay, I'm going to let Tropical Freeze kind of be in that gray area category, but still, when you look at games like I've mentioned here, 3D World, Kirby, Captain Toad, Donkey Kong, Star Fox, Yoshi, the Zelda scenario, and the fact that, by the way, we did not receive the Metroid game we all wanted on console for the Wii U, to me it shows that Nintendo really wanted to take their game franchises, and I think that a lot of these games were placeholder games. Oh, lest we forget Hyrule Warriors, which is amazing, but not a new Zelda game. I think that they were creating a bunch of placeholder games. And these games are all great. Every single game I've talked about is so fun. But when you look at the fact that only Mario Kart, Smash Bros., and Pikmin, to me, feel like true sequels, I feel like Nintendo is really preparing to unload with us a bunch of fantastic games on the NX. So I think that's going to be really interesting to see. With all these what I'm considering at least placeholder games releasing on the Wii U, does this mean Nintendo has a bunch of kick-ass brand new sequel games planned throughout the life of the NX? I mean, I think so, but I don't want you to mince my words and think that I'm trying to say, oh, in the first 3 months or in the first year, we're going to actually get a brand new 3D Mario Galaxy 3. And we're going to get a brand new Donkey Kong and a brand new Star Fox. And we will be getting Zelda, but I just think that these games, we're not going to be getting all these true sequels necessarily within the first year. 1 or 2 maybe, but I feel like Nintendo's really planning on unloading all of their actual true AAA sequel games that we were wanting and feeling like we truly did deserve on the Wii U, but we ultimately didn't get. I think that Metroid is coming to the NX, you guys. I think that we're going to see it in the next year. I don't think it's going to release in the next year, but I think that either by the time the NX is releasing, excuse me, or by the time E3 happens next year, Nintendo's finally going to be showing us Metroid. I don't expect to see it at the reveal event. Some people do, and maybe it will show up, and I will be so happy. I'm not really going to expect it at the reveal event, but I do think we'll see it announced within the next year. So I think we're going to get Metroid. We know we're getting Zelda. And I think we're going to be getting the Mario. These games I think are going to be coming. I think Nintendo realizes the NX is their time to really knock it out of the park with their franchises. They released all their placeholder spin-off and side games for the Wii U. That time is over. With the impending NX reveal coming in the next couple days or weeks or whatever, I think we're finally going to get a clear picture of what Nintendo is planning game-wise for us. And it's going to be really exciting, you guys. Expect a Metroid, expect a new Mario. We can expect Zelda, maybe some other cool surprises. It's going to be pretty interesting to see. I'm personally very excited. So what do you guys think about this? This video kind of turned into a different topic than I intended because I ended up really discussing what Nintendo did with a lot of their games on the Wii U and how I think they qualify mostly as like side games or distractor games for Nintendo to ultimately unleash all the fantastic new sequels, hopefully on the NX. So does that make sense to you? What do you think about how I broke down every game? What do you think about what Nintendo might be doing as far as giving us the sequels we all want and deserve on the NX? Is that going to happen the way I think? Or is Nintendo really still not prepared to do a lot of the things with their franchises that we maybe want them to? Discuss your thoughts about this below, guys. Thanks, of course, as always, for tuning in. This is Rob of Rule of 2 Review, and I'll catch you guys next time on another video.